Welcome back, listeners, to another episode of The Snake Pit. I'm your host, Son of Bat, and tonight I'll be talking about The Exorcist Believer. The Exorcist Believer is a 2023 semi-sequel reboot to The Exorcist, directed by David Gordon Green, screenplay by Peter Sattler, story by Scott Teems, Danny McBride, David Gordon Green, based on characters by William Peter Blatty, produced by Jason Blum and Blumhouse, and starring Leslie Odom Jr., Lydia Jewett, Olivia O'Neill, Jennifer Nettles, Norbert Leo Boots, Ann Dowd, and Ellen Bernstein. Before I get into this movie, because I have a lot to say about it, I just want to start by saying that The Exorcist is one of my all-time favorite horror movies. The Exorcist 3 is one of my favorite sequels of all time. If you, in my opinion, were to put 1 and 2 together, it would be one almost seamless, perfect movie. The story, like the novel itself, is also amazing. Both the original and the sequel, Legion, written by William Peter Blatty. Highly recommend those books to anyone into supernatural horror, satanic horror, or just a good horror novel. Like, in my personal opinion, a lot of them are few and far between, but The Exorcist is a downright classic. The original movie, it's like one of those things that just... It's weird to say. It's kind of like the Godfather of horror movies. You know what I mean? Like everyone says, like the Godfather is like one of the pinnacles of cinema. I feel like The Exorcist is one of the pinnacles of horror cinema. Like it has that same classy, very high like budget. Like I don't even want to say high budget. It has that very high quality to it. You know, it's just no other movie matches it, especially the other satanic movies from the 70s. Like a lot of people try to say The Omen's close to it, but like I personally think The Omen is dog shit compared to The Exorcist. It's just an amazing movie that has had an amazing impact. It came out long before I was ever born or even a thought in this planet. It's something that's been freaking out people for a long time and has been lasting for a very long time, so much so that they're digging up its corpse and defiling it with this movie. But I'll go into that in a second because I kind of just want to praise why I love this series before I just go on a tirade. It's one of those movies where every year I watch it, or like the older I get and I watch it, it's like, I wouldn't say it scares me, but I definitely see what creeps people out about this movie. I'm not necessarily a religious person, but I'm not adverse to believing in evil spirits or energy or whatever you want to call it. You know, like the world is a mystery. We don't have the definitive answers. And I don't feel like you have to be a Christian or a Catholic to find this movie intriguing or scary, you know? Like, it's really well put together. The effects for the time were great. And it was just something nobody had seen. Like, you know, a lot of people go to the crucifix masturbation, stabby stab as like one of the main things, or the swearing. But those are just two like major points. Like the whole movie, like nothing had been done like that. Like satanic movies before that were just so cheesy, or... You know, the good ones were all Hammer movies, and even the Hammer ones didn't go that far. You know what I mean? The Exorcist just pushed it so beyond, and I felt like every other exorcism movie has been trying to capitalize off it ever since and has never done a good job of capturing it. Yeah, I'm a huge fan of the series as a whole, even though I can recognize that most of the movies are absolutely horrible. The Exorcist 2 is widely agreed as one of the most hated films of all time. There's things about it that I do like. I do like the more in-depth analysis of the demon Pazuzu. James Earl Jones is a pretty funny actor in that. It's pretty wild. It's just an experience. It's not good. The fact that they thought they could sequel this movie without, any of the original creators' approval or involvement is just amazing to me, and it deserved the rep it got because of that. 3 is, like I said, one of my favorite horror sequels of all time. It is now getting the reputation it deserves as being an underrated classic, but this is one of those things that when I saw it, nobody was really talking about it that way. Like the hype hadn't really built around it. And I remember the first time I saw it, I was floored because The Exorcist 2 was so bad that I didn't expect 3 to be anywhere near, none of them could be anywhere near the first one. I thought 3 was going to be in the same vein as 2. Watched part 3, was fucking amazed by it, and, I remember when 4 and 5, which would be The Believer, or not The Believer, my bad, The Beginning and Dominion both came out at the same time. I hadn't seen Dominion until actually a couple of years ago. I saw the Beginning, I think when I was a little kid, and I thought it was scary when I was a kid, but the older I got, the more I realized it was just a shit movie that got quickly released. Although I will give it to them, that beginning scene in the beginning with the all the guys like stabbed up in the desert and stuff, that was pretty cool. The underground temple was sweet. The show I never really got into, and now that lands us here. And I'm going to be first and foremost when I say this, fuck you, David Gordon Green. You arrogant son of a bitch. Like, I knew this movie was going to be shit when it came out, you know? Like I said, this movie is like the Godfather of horror. And like the Godfather, you wouldn't remake that movie. You wouldn't sequel it. You wouldn't reboot it. You wouldn't fucking touch it. I believe, you know, me just being a viewer, I guess my opinion isn't much, but I believe that there are certain movies you shouldn't fucking touch. The Exorcist is one of those fucking movies. Halloween was another one. Suspiria was fucking another one. And what did they do? All these movies got remakes or legacy sequels or reboots or whatever you want to call them, and they're fucking horrible. The other thing I don't understand is why the fuck is Danny McBride writing the stories for these movies? I like the guy. I love Eastbound and Down, but you're a fucking comedian, bro. You don't write horror. This is like the Jordan Peele effect. Like, I don't understand why comedians are now deciding to jump into the horror game and fuck all these franchises up. And it's driving me absolutely up the fucking wall. Like, basically when Halloween 2018 came out and I saw Danny McBride had something to do with it, and I saw the slander John Carpenter was bringing to it, to it itself, but bringing to the original series, Halloween 2 and the sequels that followed, I knew it was going to be dog shit. I knew it was going to be dog shit when the trailer for Halloween Kills came out and it was a double trailer with Halloween Ends. What kind of fucking egomaniac, narcissistic asshole would put two trailers together and announce a trilogy like that? Why the fuck would I watch the first two movies when I can literally wait till the third one comes out? It makes no fucking sense to me. But sure enough, they didn't learn their lesson with the fucking Halloween movies, and they did it again with this one. I knew from the fucking poster announcement of this goddamn fucking movie. First of all, when the poster came out, I'm like, they shouldn't fucking do it. They shouldn't touch it. This is one of those movies you shouldn't fucking touch. So I kind of put it in the back of my mind and I ignored it. But more and more shit kept coming out about this movie in the news that I had to abuse myself and read about it and see what was going to happen. And the fucking cocksucker, David Gordon Green, just had to go out and announce that he was going to make a trilogy with the new Exorcist. He wasn't going to stop at one. No, he was going to Halloween us and give us 3 fucking movies. Before even the first one came out, he announced that there was going to be 3. They're doing the same shit with The Strangers, and I just don't understand this fucking Marvel multiverse fucking stupid approach to just showing your hand for the whole fucking year. Putting out every month what movie's going to come out with no surprise. Here's an idea. Make one good fucking movie, and if it does fucking good, who knows, maybe 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line, you make a fucking sequel. But don't fucking get halfway through one and then announce 2 other ones. Work on the one, because the way this movie went down, you should have worked on the fucking one before you announced the other 2. I am fucking glad that this movie bombed so fucking hard that he isn't going to make the second one. I hope that they scrap the fucking trilogy, and if they ever come back to this movie, they treat it with the respect it fucking deserves, and they get real fucking writers to sit down and think of an original comprehensive story, because this was fucking stupid, ridiculous bullshit. And I told y'all this was going to be a rant, but you know what? Fuck it, I'm going in. It was typical Blumhouse bullshit with the jump scares. There was no ambiance. There was no creep factor. There was no settling into the movie. It was 2 hours of Blumhouse bullshit, just throwing loud, obnoxious fucking nonsense. There was no grit to this movie. There was no edge. Like, one of the complaints I had written down, and I don't take notes mostly. I try to go in off the rip, but there was too much going on that I couldn't not take down notes. They fucking murdered this movie. They massacred it. Like, they fucking just dug up its corpse and raped it. Like, I don't know why they did this. They fucking... Oh, God, you know what? I'm getting a little ahead of myself. Let me look at my notes and really break down what was wrong with this fucking movie, because I'm at a loss for words. I can't believe I've watched this movie twice now for this review. And, you know, the main thing about this is because it's a Blumhouse movie, it had that very generic
2010 exorcism movie vibe. You know how I was saying early on that after The Exorcist came out, all the satanic movies were trying to play catch up, trying to be this fucking movie? You know, you got your exorcisms of Emily Rose, you got like The Last Exorcism, the two best examples I can give. This felt like one of those fucking movies. This didn't feel like an official Exorcist sequel. I mean, yeah, sure, it hit the musical notes here and then. You know, the makeup looked similar. There was the green spit. There was things like that. But it felt like one of those 2010 fucking by the numbers exorcism movies that were just coming out as frequently as the fucking zombie movies in that time period. And you know what? I couldn't believe that the title Exorcist was on this. I'm still fucking floored by it. Almost everyone in this movie was a giant unlikable pussy. The two kids in this movie, and I don't mean to slander kids, it's punching down or whatever, and it's hard to get good kid actors, but they were fucking horrible in this movie. One of them was trying to be Regan the whole time, and it just made me want to watch the original Exorcist that much more, and it made me realize how bad this fucking movie is. You know, when you're watching a movie, you're supposed to be engaged in what's going on. You're supposed to be there with whoever's in the movie. This whole movie, I kept thinking about the other movies in the series and how much better it would be to watch those. A funny story about this, I said it was the second time I watched this movie, and I'm not bullshitting. The first time I watched this movie, I didn't even get through it. It was the day we did the Gutter Balls podcast a week ago. After, you know, Boozy and his buddy left, I'm chilling here with Phantom. We still had a bunch of drinks left, and we're slamming him back trying to figure out a movie to watch. So we figure, fuck it, let's do The Exorcist Believer. You know, maybe we'll do the review the day after or whatever. We get through the first 10, 20 minutes and then black the fuck out. I wake up and I guess the exorcism was going on. Phantom's Kate out on the fucking couch. I'm looking around trying to figure out what the fuck's going on. And we just turned it off. And this movie, from what he remembered, because we were both fucking tanked when we watched it, from what he remembered, which wasn't a lot, he didn't want to watch this movie again. He was here earlier when we did the fucking popcorn review. We were toying with the idea of doing this one. He didn't want to do it, and I don't blame him. And you know, I was thinking about maybe doing this with Monster, but I don't want to subject him to it because I don't know if he's seen the original Exorcist series yet, and I don't want to spoil his entrance to the series with this dog shit fucking movie from David the piece of shit Gordon Green, slimy fucking cocksucker. Anyway, yeah, so I might as well jump into the plot of this movie as best as I can. I was zoning out so much. Basically, you have two girls that get possessed instead of one. There's a guy named Victor, who, by the way, is the only likable guy in this movie. And his wife is getting blessed by a voodoo practitioner, and on their honeymoon, an earthquake hits. She gets injured, and the doctors tell Victor, look, you either got to save your wife or the baby she's carrying. One's going to die. You got to pick them. 13 years later, he's lost his faith in God, a la Father Karras, and he's raising his daughter by himself. And one day, his daughter goes off with this girl, Catherine, whose family is like really fucking up the ass of the Catholic Church or the Christian Church or whatever the fuck. They're both the same thing. They both touch kids. Anyway, they go off into the woods to do a seance where they eventually get possessed. What happens is we get a bunch of callbacks and similarities to the original Exorcist, although they don't hit the same notes, they don't have the same subtlety, and it's just loud, stupid, and in your fucking face. We come to find out that Regan's mom has made big bucks off her daughter's trauma and wrote a book about what happened in the first Exorcist. I'll get more into that in a bit. And she basically tries to come in with her 2 cents. She gets her eyes gouged out of her fucking head. And then an exorcism pretty much happens where I think it's like a voodoo type exorcism mixed with a Christian and a Catholic. And you get a bunch of people that aren't priests basically doing it. The priest shows up. His head gets spun the fuck around. And then the demon hits them with the ultimatum that you have to pick one of the girls or both of them are going to die, resulting in Catherine fucking dying, and the other girl, I can't remember her fucking name, Angela, she survives, and then credits roll. But before that happens, Regan shows up for a cameo on a whole thing about forgiveness with her mother, about exploiting her fucking possession and writing a book. That was The Exorcist Believer. Fuck David Gordon Green. Fuck Danny McBride. Fuck Jason Blum. Fuck all of you for making this movie. Fuck all of you for fucking releasing this to the public. And how dare you put the title Exorcist on this? This movie had a couple callbacks going to it, and it just pissed me off every time it happened. They tried to do their own thing, but every time they did their own thing, it felt like more Blumhouse bullshit. One of the notes that I have is when So the original Exorcist, the demon face and the statues would show up in certain scenes for split seconds or just fading into the background, subtly letting you know that the demon was there. In this movie, they had hyper cuts of color and screaming, and when they did show demons lurking in the background, like there wasn't any demon faces black and white like how the trailer showed us there would be. I mean, that did happen, but it was in a red and blue filter. But every time a demon was in the universe not possessing somebody, it came off like Insidious. And specifically what I wrote here is, let me see in my notes. The first time we see a demon face, it basically comes out like that red fuck face from Insidious. Like it's over the shoulder behind the head going, ah! And it literally was like Insidious. There was a bunch of jump scares like the Sinister movies. Like it felt like a Blumhouse Exorcist ripoff, and I fucking hated every minute of it. As someone who loved the original movie for the way it's slowly built, how you cared about the characters, how it ratcheted up the tension, how it needed to be extra when it was extra and worked, but dialed it back for the rest of the movie. Like, this movie had none of it. Ellen Bernstein famously didn't show up at any of the sequels of this movie, right? Like she said after the first one, like there will be no other like it, and she refused to show up in any of the other ones, which to a degree I can respect. You know, you stick to your guns, you don't come back and, beg for money or relevance for another sequel. But what did this bitch do? She Jamie Lee Curtis us. And what many of you don't know in the horror community, Jamie Lee Curtis is famous for doing Halloween Prom Night, Terror Train, these horror movies like Road Games and shit. But for the longest time, she wouldn't show up to conventions, like horror-specific conventions, and sign shit for people because apparently it was too beneath her. Well, I get the same vibe from Ellen Bernstein. She didn't want to work on this movie or any of the sequels, but now, whether out of money or relevance, she came back and she took the fucking role. It's either like stick to your guns or, just fuck off. And I'm pissed that she was like in this movie. She didn't need to be in this movie. Like Reagan didn't need to be in this movie. I feel like it didn't even need to be two girls possessed. You could have had the who I felt was the main girl, Angela. You could have had her story, just her story, and it would have been fine. You could have had a voodoo, centered exorcist movie as opposed to like a Catholicism centered one, and it would have been fine. I feel like they crammed so much shit in this movie that didn't need to be there, and it was just ridiculous. Like, it was just absolutely fucking ridiculous. Even William Friedkin, like, before he fucking died, rest in peace, he said that he knew that the guys who were going to work on this movie are the guys that did the new Halloween movies. And I'm paraphrasing here, but he said, I don't want my signature film to be extended by the guy who made Pineapple Express. I don't want to be alive when that happens. And sure enough, he died 2 months before the movie was released. So maybe God was blessing him on that one because he didn't have to be alive to see this shit come out. And I'm from reading right now, Ellen Bernstein totally took the movie for the money. Sorry, I'm so pissed off. I'm tripping on my words here. She did take the role for the fucking money. So here you have a bunch of people who clearly don't give a shit, or people that shouldn't be writing these stories. For Christ's sakes, the original man who did the original movie is telling people this shouldn't exist. And yet they still fucking did it. Like, how can you go into another man's work and change it like that? This is why everything is failing right now. This is why that Lord of the Rings show is fucking shit, right? This is why the Star Trek shit is garbage. This is why Star Wars is ass. This is why Marvel is just dumb. Like, everything that's in the Watchmen show, like, I can go on and on. Everything that shouldn't be sequeled, that should be left alone, is just being dug up and desecrated for fucking money. And again, I don't know why. Why the fuck are fucking comedians writing these movies? Why don't we get someone who seriously knows the genre to contribute? Why are we wasting our time on David fucking Gordon fucking Green? It makes me so fucking angry. This movie drove me up the fucking wall. As you can fucking tell, like, like, I don't even know. The OG movie, it's exceptional. By the way, if you haven't guessed already, if you're still listening to this, the OG movie is phenomenal. It is a visual. It's not even just visual. It's a feast for the senses. Like, you go in and it feels, like I said, you're watching the Godfather of the horror genre. Like, cinematically, it is unmatched. The acting is top fucking tier. The themes are so deep and poignant without being overbearing. The original novel itself is fucking terrifying to a degree. Like, you know what I mean? Even Legion, which in a perfect world, there would only be The Exorcist and Legion, and that would be it. But, like, yeah, that was amazing too, and I'm pissed off that this series has more shit movies than good ones. It's a series that should be raking it. It's the fucking originator, and it still keeps fucking up every time they make a sequel. Like, I don't understand why this keeps happening. In this movie, which on paper it sounds interesting, but in execution it was retarded, was the demon in this movie actually is in Pazuzu, which is dumb, because there's this part where they're in the hospital and one of the girls is scratching the name Reagan into the fucking, like, bedpost. You know what I mean? As if, like, the demon is calling to get her to come back out into the world out of hiding. Which, okay, if it's the same demon inheriting the two girls, yeah, I guess that would make sense. Although, why a demon's been lurking around since, like, this long to get back to them makes no sense to me. Because, again, this movie doesn't retcon 2, 3, 4, or 5, or 4 and 5 being one. It doesn't retcon any of those movies. It only retcons the TV show. So, I don't fucking know. Anyway, the demon they pick is Lamashtu. So, if you know your Mesopotamian, like, demons and shit, you know that Pazuzu and Lamashtu are natural enemies. They don't coincide with each other. So, it was really fucking weird that that was the demon picked in this movie. And by the way, we see this demon in the movie, and it looks like shit. It looks like fucking shit. We only see Pazuzu a couple times in the original movie, and it's a white fucking face amongst blackness for a flash, like 2 fucking seconds. In this, it was less than that, but the shots were so obscured. I had to even Google a picture of what this fucking thing looked like in the movie. And when I saw a full picture with the makeup, I was not impressed. I thought this thing looked fucking stupid. And I don't know why they showed so much of it in such an obscured way. Like, the flash cut edits for when they were doing demon face transitions was just hideous looking fucking movie. Yeah, it's just weird. They picked Lamashtu, and maybe because, like I don't know, because it's the opposite or whatever. I don't know. It was just dumb. It was just fucking dumb. You know, maybe they could have gone the route of saying that it was Legion, because one of the lines, like the title Legion for the third thing, is like from, I believe, a line in the Bible where the devil tells Jesus, "I am Legion, for we are many." And the idea with the original Exorcist, if I'm remembering this correctly, because I'm so fucking angry, I'm not thinking straight, but the idea is when Reagan was possessed, it wasn't just, Pazuzu was the main one controlling her, sure, but she was a host of other demons too, many demons, a legion almost, which is why the third book might have been named what it was. It would have made more sense to go that route instead of just doing the whole, oh, it's Lamashtu, but yet Lamashtu's acting like it's trying to get revenge for Pazuzu. Like, what? Like, I'm confused trying to wrap my fucking head around it. It was just dumb. It's fucking dumb. I have a couple more notes here I'm gonna whiz through before I have a fucking aneurysm. I need to fucking smoke. I swear to God. I'm gonna go through a pack of cigarettes because of this. Basically, the girl Catherine in this movie, and again, I don't mean to dunk on a child actor. I don't know why. David Gordon Green, Danny, whoever the fuck was on set. Maybe this might even go down to Linda Blair, which I feel bad for saying, because, like, I had a crush on her when she was in Savage Streets when I was a kid, and I like a lot of the movies she's in, but I heard she was a consultant to how the possessed girls were supposed to be on the film, because she was the original possessed girl. But oh my God, like, this girl was dollar store Reagan. The fact that they had her acting like it and borderline looking like it, doing certain things, like the weird unhinged singing in the hall, like she was literally acting like Reagan. And it just, again, kept making me think about the original movie. Like I would rather be watching the first movie or the third movie right now. Fuck it. I'd rather even be watching 2 or the 2 prequels. Like, it just kept calling back to better movies, which I think was the dumbest thing they could have done. They should have stuck to their guns and kept it original. They should have kept it. Maybe they should have even maybe had it take place in fucking Haiti and sever any connection to the first fucking movie. Like, yeah, and the idea that this was supposed to set up for a trilogy just is so fucking arrogant and egotistical. It just blows my fucking mind. Like, it blows my mind. Like, ugh. Again, thank God that this movie was so fucking bad. They won't make a sequel to it. And if they do, it's going to be completely unrelated, because this was just a mess. This was a bullshit fucking mess. The thing that Ellen Bernstein added to it, again, aside from the fact that I knew she was just being a money-hungry bitch coming back for this role, her one major fucking revelation in the movie is the dad, Victor, is trying to figure out what's going on with his daughter. So he obviously reads the book and he goes to find Reagan's mom to talk to her about what happened. And he asks her why, like, what happened, and she's like, I wasn't involved. And I swear to God, when I was watching this movie with fucking Phantom, I looked at him and I'm like, I guarantee you she's going to say the reason why she wasn't involved was because of the fucking patriarchy. 2 seconds later, she makes a comment about the fucking patriarchy. And it pisses me off because I'm not like one of those fucking political issues. I don't like hearing stupid shit, right? Like, again, I'm not a religious person, but from what I've read and from my understanding of how religion works, the reason why the two priests in the original movie were doing the exorcism and no one else was there was because they are ordained by the church to do this. They have studied the Bible and Christianity and everything that comes with it their entire fucking lives. Like, they are qualified to do this. Not to mention, if your kid is possessed or having in what some may say is a mental fit or something, do you really want to be in the room watching that? For fuck's sake, she was in the room in the first half of the movie, in the original, and she's seen the crucifix stabbed. She got slapped across the fucking room. She wasn't handling it. She was screaming and crying. She had to get taken out by the fucking butler. I don't even think she would have been able to handle it if she was there for the exorcism. So the patriarchy comment was just fucking retarded. It's another example of these stupid fucking writers trying to be smart or thinking that they're covering real poignant issues in society. And it's like, you sound like a fucking idiot, bro. What did this have to do with any of it? I'm glad her character, again, not Ellen Bernstein, because I'm sure this is in the script, but I'm glad her fucking character got her eye stabbed out of her fucking head. Like, I thought, I was really concerned that she was going to be the focal point to this movie, and she might have even been the Exorcist. And I'm glad that wasn't the case, because she really rubbed me the wrong way showing up in this fucking movie and acting the way she fucking did. It just was not fucking fun. The exorcism itself that happens in this movie is borderline fucking ridiculous. You have a priest, you have a voodoo priestess who, honestly, like I said, she should have been the only one doing the exorcism. You had a priest who was too much of a fucking pussy to get out of his car until the last few minutes. You had the white girl's shit fucking parents, and you had fucking their fucking pedophile fucking priest friend from the Baptist church, and then you had Victor and his daughter, and you had the nurse that lived next door. You had a bunch of people just there, and what resulted was a bunch of screaming babies who didn't know what the fuck they were doing. One's yelling the Roman Catholic rite, one's yelling the Baptist rite in tongues, the other one's doing the voodoo thing, and it was just so much all at once. And I'm like, yo, like, this is ridiculous. It should have just been the voodoo one. That would have been cooler. That would have been more palatable. It would have been a nice change up. But no, they have 3 exorcisms going on at once for these 2 girls in the chair. Yeah, there was some interesting shit, but again, like, it's nothing we haven't seen before. Black slime getting spat up. They even did the green slime getting spat in the woman's face, kind of like how when Karis got the green slime spat in his face, but it wasn't no pea soup, practical effects shit, that cool stuff. It was CG fucking eye, or it looked like it, or pen ink, or some shit. It looked fucking horrible. And I don't know how much of this was practical. I get the girls' faces at some point when they were possessed looked kind of fucking creepy and distorted, but that's all I'm giving it to it. The original had practicals that, yeah, may look dated, but still hold up. The movie still fucking looks unnerving. The original demon was only done with fucking black and white cream paint and a pair of dentures, and that still freaks the shit out of people. I don't see that new one in this movie doing that to anybody. I really fucking don't. You know, like, God, there's more callbacks to the original too, you know what I mean? Again, I brought that up, it just made me think about wanting to watch the original. You know, it's just, oh my God, like, the other girl, the first girl I've been ragging on the whole thing so far is this girl, Catherine. She was bad. The other girl was a little better, but she was also, again, a child actor who wasn't that good. But there was this one scene in specific with her that was decent, where it kind of made me think of the original, but it didn't make me want to, like, it just made me see what this movie could have fucking been. And it's the scene where the girl, like, Angela, she looks at her dad in the face and she's like, "You never wanted me," and the voice is like changing and shit like that. And then she mimics his voice the day the wife died, where he's asking the doctor, because I don't think we heard it in the beginning, where he asked the doctor to save his wife over the daughter, which I thought was great, because like in the original Exorcist, like, the demon it basically takes the worst truths and distorts and twists them and throws them back at you to destroy you. And it was like Karras with his mom in the original movie. I felt like that genuinely worked as a plot point. And, you know, if we didn't have two girls being possessed and we focused more on the one, we could have had more depth and more character development. And maybe this girl wouldn't have been such a shitty actress. Like, again, not her performance. This boils down to the writing. Maybe her character wouldn't have been as shitty if the whole story focused on her as opposed to two. Because I felt like having two of them possessed was fucking pointless. Like, it clearly focused more on like the girl Angie than it did the fucking white girl. So I didn't understand like why they needed to do two. It was just really weird, and it felt completely fucking pointless. And again, the voodoo priestess, like I said, should have been the only one doing the exorcism, because everyone in that exorcism was succumbing to the demon. They were listening to all the shit talk it was throwing, which I guess could be hard. Even Karras couldn't not listen to it. He was freaking out, especially toward the end. But the old priest was even like in the original movie, like, you can't let the demon's lies enter your head. You have to like not acknowledge it and keep going with the right to exorcise the demon. It's going to throw everything at you to distract you. And out of like the 3-4 people, like out of like, you know, it may have even been more. It may have been 6 people. Like it was like a dinner party exorcism. Out of all these people here, the only one who kept their mouth shut, kept a straight face, and was actually proactive doing shit was the voodoo priestess. She drew out the ectoplasm, all that shit. She was doing shit while everyone else was freaking out, screaming and talking in tongues. The girl Catherine, like her parents from the get-go in the movie, the family was made off as to be unlikable. It was just a bunch of bratty shit fucking kids, a fucking distant wife, and a stupid dumb shit fucking husband. And like maybe it was implied that the family was kind of racist based off how they first acted when coming to the hospital to see the daughter, but they were just so cartoonishly like dumb and evil that like I didn't give a shit whether or not their possessed kid lived or died. Like they were just a shit family. Like, again, more reason that this should have been mostly about Victor and Angie. But again, like, I don't know why they did that. They didn't do that. They just decided to cram everything all in at once. Like, oh my God, like, it's just bullshit. And you know, again, I brought it up. I'm tired of these reboot, prequel, sequel, legacy sequel announcements coming out all the time. Make one good fucking movie and hope that it comes out good. Especially if you're going to do something like The Exorcist. This movie should have been in production for years. This should have taken at least years to make. This shouldn't have came out as fast as it did from announcement to then. The fact that, like, the movie didn't even come out, and his Halloween trilogy wasn't even out for, like, a year fully, to my knowledge, and he announced an Exorcist trilogy, I think is very fucking brazen and ignorant. I think it just shows how inexperienced and cocky this asshole is. And maybe, you know what, they should just stop, like I said, hiring fucking comedians, because comedians, to be honest, a lot of them are pieces of shit, and I don't want to sit around and watch these assholes constantly dick around movies that shouldn't be dicked around. They did it with, they didn't do it with Suspiria, but Suspiria got fucking touched a few years ago. That's a movie I argued should have never even been considered for a fucking remake. That's Hall of Fame shit. You wouldn't like it blows my fucking mind that this is the route we're going with horror movies, that instead of making original things, we're just going to keep taking out the original classic movies and defiling their fucking legacy with shitty fucking legacy sequels. It's just ridiculous. The other thing, too, on a smaller note, is this movie's really annoying to look at in a DVD collection because all the other ones are Warner Brothers and this is Universal. So it fucks up the alignment in the shelf, too, which is another side note that I thought I'd bring up for any of you fucking collectors out there. This was just a loud, obnoxious, Blumhouse-styled fucking Exorcist movie. I don't feel like it was worthy to use the beat notes from The Exorcist. I didn't feel like the references were any good. I hated the new fucking demon. All the new characters weren't memorable. I could barely remember their fucking names or a coherent narrative as to how or why they were possessed. I think they were doing some stupid childish game in the fucking woods. They go into some dirty fucking hole in the fucking ground and they get possessed. Which, like, again, there was one good line though. Only good because it brings up an issue that the news doesn't seem to talk about. When they're looking for their kids because they're gone for like 3 days, the dad, Chris, God damn it. See, I don't remember these names. They're just, like, none of these people are worth remembering. Catherine, when she's fucking there, like, you know, the parents are there looking for their kids. The dad's like, maybe it was a homeless camp out in the woods. They took our kids. which, I mean, there's a lot of fucking homeless camps in all the big cities around. I know in Canada and the US, so shouts out for that realism. Hobo rapists out in the woods, that's a real fear that is out in the public amongst with the demonic energy of today's society. But like, fuck, man, like, this movie was unnecessary. I don't feel like it should have been made. I feel bad for Friedkin knowing that he knew this was going to come out before he died, but in the same breath, I'm glad he isn't around to see this movie. I'm pissed that they did this. Like, this shouldn't be made. This movie, I fucking Christ, I'm probably going to have to give it a 0. I'm not even giving this a fucking 1. I'm so pissed off from this. I'm going to watch The Exorcist now. It's about like 3 in the morning, as it always fucking is. I'm probably going to watch The Exorcist 1 now to wash that fucking piss poor taste of the new one out of my mouth, because God knows I fucking need it. This movie was a pain in the ass to sit through. I can't believe I watched it twice. I don't recommend it to any of you out there. If any of you saw this and made it through and think I'm an idiot for the shit I was talking, you're probably a Blumhouse fan and you can go fuck yourself. David Gordon Green, if you see this, you're a fucking idiot, and I hope you never make horror movies again. You should go back to making fucking stoner movies with fucking James Franco, Seth Rogen, and Danny McBride. Danny McBride, I fucking love you as Kenny Powers in Eastbound and Down, but you are not a fucking horror writer, my friend. Stop it. Halloween, that trilogy was shit. The Exorcist Believer was shit. So much so that they couldn't even let you finish this fucking trilogy. And I am glad. Fuck this movie. Anyone who liked it, you're a fucking idiot. I'm sorry to say, but it's true. How could you compare this to the original? I don't understand. If any of you want to see a sequel to The Exorcist that even holds up, just watch fucking Exorcist 3. If you're lucky enough that you have a Blu-ray player and you're a DVD connoisseur, get the Legion cut by Scream Factory, because apparently that is a more tight version of it. But you can avoid this one. This one makes Heretic enjoyable on some level, which I can't fucking believe. Yeah, shame on you, David Gordon Green. Shame on you, Blumhouse. And shame on you, whoever financed this fucking movie. I am fucking done. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe. Hopefully I don't have to watch something that pisses me off this hard again. This is why I avoid new movies. You know, Terrifier 2 was the only saving grace. Hopefully Thanksgiving is on that level. I'm holding out hope, because like with this movie, you know what, before I leave, I'll say this. When this movie came out, I was a jaded prick about it. I was being me. I was angry about Halloween, you know? I was one of those kids who was freaking out every Star Wars movie and every Marvel movie that came out. You know, maybe I thought, I'm 25 now, I'm going to be 26. Maybe dial it back, be a little bit more mature. Maybe give it a chance, because, you know, for Christ's sakes, Exorcist 2, 4, and 5 and the show weren't very good. You know, they don't have a track record of having more good movies than bad ones. Maybe this will be the good one. And I'm never making that mistake again. I have little to no trust in these fucking legacy sequels, man. Terrifier 2 was fucking great. An original property beat out all the fucking newbie sequel movies to the original OGs. I can't believe that. But yeah, I'm hoping Eli Roth's Thanksgiving stacks up on the level of Terrifier 2, because at this rate, all these new horror movies coming out are not impressing me. Like I said, like, comment, subscribe if that's your thing. If not, whatever, it's all good. Hope this episode didn't hurt too many feelings. Exorcist Believer, fuck that shit. Shout out David Gordon Green, piece of shit. Don't make horror movies. Good night. Peace.